So good morning everyone. So my name is Audrey Tabotabo, the reporter for this topic this very morning. So our topic this very morning is all about Kirchhoff rules. So what is Kirchhoff rules? Many complex circuits such as one figure 5.10 cannot be analyzed with the series parallel techniques. However, there are two circuits analysis rules that can be used to analyze any circuits. Whether simple or complex, these rules are special cases of the loss conservation charge and the conservation of energy. The rules are known as Kirchhoff rules, named after the inventor Gustav Kirchhoff from 1824 to 1887. So, today I'm going to be defining what is the main idea of Kirchhoff. So, the main idea of Kirchhoff junction rule that is that at any junction or intersection in an electrical circuit, the total amount of electric current flowing into the junction must be equal to the total amount flowing out. The rule is based on the principle of conservation of charge, which means that electric charge cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. So whatever flows into a junction must flow out, ensuring that electric charge is conserved in the circuit. So, next, Kirchhoff rules. First rule and second rule. So the first rule is the junction rule. So, junction rule. The sum of all currents entering a junction must be equal to the sum of all current leaving the junction. So what is the junction rule? So, junction rule. So, ang first rule. Second rule, the loop rule. The algebraic sum of changes in potential around any closed circuit's past loop must be zero. So, wala to ang that's the two rules of the Kirchhoff. Next, conservation laws. Kirchhoff rules for circuit analysis are applications of conservation laws to circuit. The first is the application of energy of charge, while the second rule is the application of conservation of energy. Conservation laws, even used in a specific application such as circuit analysis, are so basic as to form the foundation of that application. So, I'm going to be defining the two rules. First, the conservation of charge. This rule is like saying you can't magically create or destroy marbles during a game. If you start with 10 marbles, you have to end with 10 marbles. You can move them around or share them, but you can't make them disappear. So in the game, no marbles can just appear out of thin air or vanish into thin air. They stay the same. So that is my definition of the conservation of charge. Next, conservation of energy, the second rule. Now let's say the game involves using energy to move the marbles around. This rule is like saying you can't magically create or destroy energy during the game. If you start with 20 points of energy, you have to end with 20 points of energy. You have to end the game, you have to end with 20 points of energy. You can use the energy to play the game. Energy doesn't appear or disappear. It's always there, just changing forms. So that is my definition of energy, conservation of energy. Next, applying Kirchhoff rules. So when applying the first rule, the junction rule, must be labeled the current each other's branch and decide in what direction it is going. For example, in figure 5.11 and figure 5.12, which I'm going to show you later, currents are labeled I1, I2, I3, and I. And arrows indicate their directions. There is no risk here, for if you choose the wrong direction, the current will be of the correct magnitude but negative. So my definition to this is applying Kirchhoff rules helps us solve complicated electrical circuit problems by setting up equations. Here's how it works. So when applying Kirchhoff's second rule, the loop rule, you must identify a closed loop and decide in which direction to go around it, clockwise or counterclockwise. For example, in figure 12, the loop was, which I'm going to show you later. So I'm going to be defining the first rule application and the second rule. The first rule is the junction rule application, which when using the junction rule, we label the current each branch of the circuit and we decide on their directions. It's like putting arrows on the road to show which way traffic is flowing. If we label the wrong direction, it is okay. It is okay because the magnitude or size of the current will be still correct. But the negative sign. So for example, if we label a current as going clockwise but is actually going counterclockwise, the magnitude of the current will still be correct. It's just shown as negative. So that is my definition of the junction rule application. And the second rule, the loop rule application. When using the loop rule, we identify closed loops in the circuit and decide which direction to go around them. Either clockwise or counterclockwise, it's like choosing which direction to walk around a loop trail. The rule says that as we move around the loop, the sum of changes in potential or voltage must be zero. This helps us understand how voltage change as we move through the circuit. So by applying Kirchhoff rules, we set up equations that help us find the unknowns in the currents, like in circuits, like currents, voltage, or resistance. It's like following a set of rules to solve a puzzle. Once we apply the rules correctly, we can find the answer we're looking for. So that is my topic explaining.
Now we are going to calculating current using Kirchhoff rules. This circuit is sufficiently complex that the currents cannot be found using Ohm's law and the series parallel techniques. It is necessary to use Kirchhoff rules. Currents have been labeled I1, I2, and I3 in the figure, and assumptions have been made about their directions. Locations on the diagram have been labeled with letters A through H. In the solution, we will apply the junction and loop rules, seeking three independent equations to allow us to solve for the three unknown currents. So we will begin by applying the Kirchhoff rules, the junction rule at a point that this gives. So since I1 equals I2 plus I2, since I1 flows into the junction while I2 and I3 flow out, applying junction rule at E produce exactly the same equation so that no new information is obtained. This is a single equation where three unknowns, three independent equations are needed, and so the loop rule must be applied. Now we considered the loop A, B, C, D, E, A going to A to B. We traverse R2 in the same assumed direction of the current I2, and so that the change of potential is negative I2 and negative R2. Then going from B to C, we can go from negative to positive, so that the change in potential is positive electromagnetic one, traversing the eternal resistance R1 from C to D gives negative I2 and R1. Completing the loop by going from D to A, again traverse resistors in the same direction as its current, giving a chance in the potential of I1 and R2. Now, the loop rule states that the changes in potential sum 0. Thus, this is now the result. Negative I2 R2 plus electromagnetic force 1 minus I2 and R2 minus I1 R1 equals negative I2 open parenthesis R2 plus R1 close parenthesis plus electromagnetic force 1 minus I1 R1 equals 0. So that in that situation, the loop rules states that the changes in potential sums to 0. So it 0. So it in potential sum to 0. So now we are going to after those we were going to substitute the values from the circuit diagram for the resistance and EMF and cancelling the ampere unit gives. So it will be negative I2 plus 18 minus 6I1 equals 0. And then after that, we will going to apply the loop rule to A, E, F, G, H, A. And we could have chosen A, B, C, D, E, F, G as well. It's up to you. But then now we are going to apply the loop rule to A, E, F, G, H, A. So it will be plus positive I1 R1 plus I3 R3 plus I3 R1 minus electromagnetic force 2 minus equals plus positive I1 R1 plus I1 open parenthesis R3 plus R2 close parenthesis minus electromagnetic force 2 equals 0. So this is the second what we call the side of the example. And then after that, note that the signs are reversed compared with the other loop because elements are traversed in the opposite direction with values entered, and this become 6 positive 6 I1 plus 2I3 minus 45 equals 0. These three equations are sufficient to solve for the three unknown currents. And now we are going to solve the second equation for I2. So it will be I2 equals 6 minus 2I1. And then we are going to solve again the I3, the third equation for I3. So it will be I3 equals 2.5 minus 3I1. Now, we are done solving those three equations. First, the second equation and the third equation. Now, we are going to substitute these two new equations into first ones. Allow us to find a value for I1. So, it will be I1 equals I2 plus I3 equals open parenthesis 6 minus 2I1 close parenthesis plus open parenthesis 22.5. That is the equation or the value or the answer of the third equation. And this is the second equation. Now you are going to substitute. So it will be 6 minus 2I1 plus 22.5 minus 3I1 and equals to 28.5 minus 5I1. So that is the two new equation into the first ones allows us to find the value. So now we're going to combine terms together. We're combining it. So it will be 6I1 equals 28.5 and I1 equals 4.75A. Now again, we're going to substitute this value for I1 back into the fourth equations that gives. So after that, it will be I2 equals 6 minus 2I1 equals 6 minus 9.50. And after we will solve that and substitute, it will be I2 equals 3.58. This minus sign means 1 2 flows in direction opposite to that assumed in figure 5.14. Finally, substituting the value for I1 into the fifth equation gives. So it will be 3 equals 22.5 equals 3I1 equals 22.5 minus 14.25 is I3 equals 8.25A. So this is the answer of the given. Just to check, we know that indeed I1 equals I2 plus I3. The result could also have been checked by entering all of the values into the equation for the ABCDEFGA loop. So that's all our topic this morning. Thank you and God bless.